I know this is going to be an extended series of extended play episodes. I'm not sure how many episodes it's going to turn out to be, but it's going to be one heck of a kickoff to Season 2, Duna or Bust. I mean, the first launch, we've reached Duna, we brought 2 crew people here, got a whole bunch of science. We're doing all sorts of crazy things like aero capture, or not, well, it wasn't true in aero capture, but it was a little bit of aero braking. Doing some more aero braking to get ourselves into orbit, low orbit around Duna. We're going to do a bunch more crew reports. Temperature scans and things. We are in trouble. We haven't even hit the periapsis yet. All right, I don't need the brakes anymore. Now look how much that aero brakes are so cool. Oh god, it's such a cool technology. Our slipstreaming is being so minimally affected by now. Okay, that gives me an idea of how easy it is to control this stuff with these aero brakes. Because now we're hitting the brakes from the high atmosphere, using it to slow us down, and we'll be able to use that in Kerbin's reentry as well. Like we can aim high in Kerbin's reentry from a gravity assist from the moon. And probably get ourselves into landing position, or at least recovery position in a single burn. What's our altitude now? So we're climbing out. We're actually climbing out. We're at 30.5 kilometers. At this point, the atmosphere is having less and less effect on our apoapsis, which is perfectly fine. As soon as we are fully out of the atmosphere, we will go ahead and circularize. Just a full, set of circularization maneuvers. And I've touched on them a little bit in the previous episodes, but I'm going to spend some time kind of showing you some advanced maneuvers in here. By now you're used to maneuvers at the periapsis and the apoapsis to affect either one. Like at the periapsis, you affect the apoapsis and vice versa. But there are other ways to impact the apoapsis and periapsis when you're not at those nodes. There's all sorts of things you can do to move these things around. And it really comes down to sort of Einstein's way of thinking about orbits. Newton did a great mathematical job of essentially inventing calculus in figuring out how orbits generally worked, along with Johann Kepler's work. But Isaac Newton basically was never able to figure out the mechanism by which gravity worked. He, struggled with that. It's like, well, it's just gravity. I'll leave it to the reader or some other person to figure out how that works. Here are the equations to that really closely approximate it. So closely that Isaac Newton thought it was perfect, but it turns out it was just a little bit off. And that's where and that had to do with the differences in the speed of light. That's where Einstein came in to the picture. Einstein figured out the mechanism by which gravity works, which is a massive object like Duna warps the fabric of space-time around it, making kind of a bowl, and things in orbit or things moving through in any sort of orbital trajectory or even a flyby trajectory, as far as Einstein was concerned, they were actually moving in a straight line through curved space. And that's really what we're doing here. So that's why we can think about these nodes in a different way. And I'll talk about that more when I get to the node that I want to adjust, or how I want to adjust one of these nodes. We are coming out of this atmosphere now. We're at 44 kilometers and still climbing, or nearly. There's 44. It's going to take us just a little bit longer to get to 50 kilometers, and then we'll start working on our periapsis and apoapsis. So if you think of it this way, ignoring what's on the screen, if you take a look at a straight line, here we got a straight line. In fact, it's picture time with Abraham. Ha ha ha! One straight line. totally a straight line. Look at that. It's about as straight gets. And I didn't even use a ruler. Put a little marker here. You are here. Yeah, you are here. If you want to have an impact on this farthest part away from the straight line, the further you are away, the less energy it takes to impact it. Any little bit of change here makes a huge difference in where that straight line is going. Well, it just so happens... Where'd my cap go? That the same is true in a gravity well, because, as Einstein discovered, we're flying in a straight line through curved space. So, you know what? I'm pretty far away from this apoapsis. I'm not quite as far as I'd like to be, but I know that, thrusting retrograde is going to have a pretty good impact on the apoapsis at this point. But it's not going to be perfect, and the reason is because I'm not at the periapsis. So we'll just wait till I get settled, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay. So you can see our periapsis is also coming down. What I really want to do is I want these two numbers to add up to 110. Get these numbers to add up to 110 by burning retrograde. Let me just highlight them so they're staying on the screen here. Or at the very least, get them to where they're equidistant from me. See, now they're more or less equidistant from me, so I'm not going to have as much impact on them. But if I burn perpendicular, so here's my straight line. If I burn perpendicular, which is this way, or that way, or in three-dimensional space that way, this way, but we'll just do it this way. If I burn, say, this way, I can bend that line like this, which means I can have an impact on where that apoapsis goes, even though I'm not at the periapsis. What I want to do is I want to move that apoapsis closer to Kerbin. So what that means is if I look at this like there's a straight line going away from me, I want to burn to my left. Well, there's a symbol for that. It's called anti-radial. My ship is now facing Duna and is going to bend this line. Remember, it's not a circle, it's a straight line. I am now going to turn and bend this line like so. Watch what happens to my apoapsis and my periapsis. Simultaneously, the apoapsis is going down, the periapsis is coming up because I'm moving this straight line that way. What's going to happen here is these are going to wrap around, and I'm going to have an apoapsis pretty much on top of my ship. And once I have that, we know that periapsis is the node furthest away. We face retrograde or prograde at our leisure to adjust exactly where that periapsis ends up. And in this burn, I'm using very little fuel to do so. Bingo. We've bent that line. The apoapsis is now just past us. The periapsis is now at 52 kilometers. We know that we want that at 55 kilometers for best performance. So we just aim prograde. Put on the tiniest little bit of thrust. Bingo. 55 kilometers on the periapsis. Warp there. Now let's get to the other side and fix the apoapsis. We need to bring the apoapsis down to get ourselves a nice circular orbit at 55 kilometers. So this is just normal maneuvering stuff. We get to the periapsis, burn a little retrograde, bring the apoapsis down, and we have a nice circular orbit around Dune with which to do our crew reports. We're at the node, face retrograde, turn on the old motor, using very, very little fuel to get this done. Orbit's so close to circular that I don't even care. Here we are, orbiting Duna, all set, craft upside down and backwards. There we go. Let's retract these brakes. This ship ended up being so cool. Oh god, I can't stand it. Alright, we only need one solar panel at this point. But I will go ahead and extend both. In space near Duna. Also in space near Duna. And recorded in space near Duna. Okay. I think the crew report is, yeah, that's okay. So we already got it in space near Duna. That's fine. I ended up repeating a bunch of stuff. But at this point, we are now ready to do Duna orbital EVAs. Here's an EVA report from the Midlands. This looks interesting. See, look at this different coloration here. So we're going to go there and take a look. In fact, I can just say, warp here, please. Thank you. EVA. EVA. Duna's Lowlands. Get on board. Map. I don't know if this is different or not. We're going to check it. That'd be an interesting thing to do, but it's not on my plane. Here's a crater. So we're just warping here, getting another EVA report. Once we get these EVA reports, we're ready to leave Duna behind. Thank you, Duna. You've been wonderful. Say hi to the kids. 266 divided by 1.6. Ah, typo. 166 seconds of fuel. Just FYI, in case you were interested. More lowlands. That's okay. Get the lights on. Board. Grab. Board. Board anyway. Next spot is going to be this crater. And that's a pretty decent sized little crater there. So we're going to warp there, get a bunch more science or whatever science we can from the EVA report. And when we come back from Duna, we're going to be buried in science. Not so buried in money. But with Duna within our grasp, within our realm of possibility, we have a lot of fun contracts to do that we can do to get money. So this should be within this crater. Andra's going to be a massive science superstar by the time she gets back. Duna's Lowlands, dang it. Board. Down. Forward. Board. Grab. Board. That was the Lowlands again. Let's see what this is. And it's too dark to see any differences at this point. So I think I'll probably grab this last one and then see about a return trip. This is from the Midlands. Board. Okay, we have Lowlands and Midlands done. There's got to be Highlands somewhere around here, right? Is this the Highlands? Let's warp here and try it. And then we'll see about actually escaping Duna. Come on around, ship. Well, actually. So we can work on time warping that in a bit. I'm pretty sure. Okay, now this is the part where I pause for a moment to go take a look at my equations to figure out a return trip from Duna. Once again, I'll pop that exercise up on the screen to sort of show you what's going on. But, so hang tight while I figure that out. I'll be right back. So, we're going to calculate this return trip from Duna to Kerbin using the equation that I talked about in a special feature. If you guys haven't seen that, just adjust this camera down a little bit, about like that. If you guys haven't seen that, you should definitely go check it out. The link will be on the equation that I'm showing here on the screen. Anyway, the equation is r sub t, which is the ratio of our transfer orbit, and that is to say it's going to be a half an orbit, is equal to 1 over 2 times the square root of a sub t cubed divided by a sub h cubed. A sub t is the semi-major axis of the target, which is Kerbin. So I'm going to write down a sub t cubed equals 13.6. And we know that a sub h, that's the semi-major axis of our transfer orbit. When we went from Kerbin to Duna, it was 17.15. Well, we're going from Duna to Kerbin, so our periapsis and apoapsis are still the same. The periapsis is at Kerbin, and the apoapsis is at Duna. So the semi-major axis for that point is still the same, at 17.5. So I'll write down a sub h cubed equals 17.5. Let me just plug that into my equation here. R sub t equals 1 over the 2 times the square root of 13.6 divided by 17.5, and both of those are cubed. So we'll plug in these numbers. 17.15. 0.15 cubed. I get now let's here. Put that in memory. 13.6 cubed. Divide that by memory recall. And I get 0.4987 and some change. Grab the square root of that, which gives me 0.7062 and some change. Multiply that by 2. 1.4123 and some change. Put that in memory. 1 divided by whatever that memory is on my little phone here. And I get 0.708 and some change. So Kerbin, being our destination orbit, is going to traverse about 70%, 70.8% of an orbit. 0.708 times 360 minus 90 minus 90, and I get 164 degrees on the map. If I would subtract 90 again, that gives me a phase angle of negative 74 degrees or so, 74.88. Anyway, with that in mind, we'll go back to the episode and put this math to use. Okay, so I ran the numbers, and we've got a ways to go. In fact, oh, you know what we should do? We should go through those crew reports and send them all back to Kerbin. So we have them done. Two crew reports is all we got out of Duna at this point. But that's okay. Because we need to go to the Space Center. What we discovered is that a return trip from Duna, if I put it here at 90 degrees, is going to come kind of like this and come into Kerbin. Kerbin is going to be 0.7 of an orbit done, which is about here. So we've got some time fast forwarding to do to get these boys home. We'll go ahead and run that for a little while. You know what? While we're here, let's go Let's go see how... Let's go see how some of these science gains are doing. So this guy has 238 science built up because it's been running for a while. I'm thinking... Do we not have any transmission gear on this thing? Yes, we do. There it is. They're still researching. How do I tell this ship to go ahead and transmit its science? So we've got 238 science. Calm idle. Somehow or other. Moonbase Alpha. Somehow or other, there it is. I wonder why I couldn't do it in the other one. This only has 123 science. But we'll go ahead and transmit what we've got. Even though it'll chew through our power. Like nobody's business. We'll have to fast forward time a little bit until this is done. Okay. Yeah, you guys can go ahead and continue researching. For some reason, I can't do it with this one. I wonder if I have to... Do I have to have a cockpit installed or something? I don't get it. I might need to have a a ship with a cockpit come up here and stick a claw in this thing to have that science get done. That's a lot of science that I'd like to keep. Oh well. We're at the Space Center. The main reason we're here, those things are going to collect more science as we do time anyway, is as we warp around, I don't want to do that while in that screen. I want to do it from here. Time warp as fast as possible. So right now we're just kind of warping our guys around to get Kerbin and Duna to the right position. Basically, Duna, you know, is here. Kerbin needs to be right about there. As Kerbin's coming around faster from Duna. And then we will burn prograde with respect to Duna, but such that our burn sort of leaves us going this way, which is retrograde with respect to the sun, bringing our orbit in for a nice rendezvous with Kerbin, where we will aero capture, or at least aero brake, or maybe do a gravity assist off of the moon, and then aero brake and get all this science back that we have on this ship from Duna. We have a ton of science, plus our stations throughout this whole time are generating more science as well. So we'll be able to transmit that again and see how things are going pretty good here. This is a nice little interplanetary thing. We are getting there. Just need to hang tight. I'm going to go ahead and pause recording at this point. Catch up with you guys when Duna and Kerbin are in the right position. So hang tight. And we're just about there. I think that will do it. About like that. Again, there are mods that help you with this stuff, but if you're just thinking about it a little bit, run some of these simple math equations. They're not simple. I mean, it is after all rocket science, but if you just go through the math exercise, all the information you need is really in the game. Or You could build massive, bigger rockets which are capable of just sort of flying around and winging it. I'd done that in my previous career modes before. But we're going to go over here to the Duna flyby. Okay, so here we are around Duna. Again, I am going to burn this way. Which is actually a maneuver coming up sort of soonish. So we're going to add a maneuver here. Burn this way to leave Duna's sphere of influence. Go ahead and adjust that a little bit. Like so. And pull in the prograde marker to bring it down a bit. Go ahead and set Kerbin as our target. And we can see that based on this burn, there's a lot of efficiency to be gained by going like so. We'll whip this around to get this parallel with our current orbit plane. And in doing so, that will change drastically this periapsis. So there's the periapsis. We want to bring it down to Kerbin. It's counterintuitive, but we keep thrusting prograde with respect to Duna to bring this periapsis down. And we can see it's a 1 minute and 30-second burn. And as we continue to add more velocity, it'll be a longer burn. 2 minutes. Do we have 2 minutes of fuel? Oh yeah, maybe. Divided by 1.6. 266 divided by 1.6. We have 166 seconds of fuel. Okay, we're seeing here that we would be coming in way ahead of Kerbin. Like, way ahead. So, we'll wait. Back to the Space Center. That's more like it. The rest of this little difference can be adjusted in when we leave Duna's sphere of influence. Oops, now I've done it. I want to get this kind of out, maybe like that. Quick save that. Warp to our next maneuver. And we're going to be ready to leave Duna, so yeah. Hang tight. We'll get to our next maneuver, get us lined up, and then be ready to go. Thanks for watching. That's going to be it for episode 3. Tune into episode 4 when we make our rendezvous with Kerbin and set down with all of our science. So until then, thanks for watching. Goodbye!